Hello, and welcome to my 31st October. I'm Lucky27, and this is a series of stories I have often told about my life. This is part 2 of the story entitled Father Figures. He had rules about everything. You couldn't tear wrapping paper because it needed to be saved for later. You couldn't spin the bread wrapper and tuck it underneath the bread. You needed to use the twisty, or you would go to bed hungry. He couldn't throw away food that had gone bad. You still had to eat it. No candy in the house, or he would eat it all. No eating until you answered 3 questions right from Bible trivia. The list goes on. He baptized our cats in wheelbarrow water. We had to get rid of our dog because he didn't like dogs. All of our clothes were from second-hand stores, but he had an arcade in his garage for himself, and a snowmobile, and a $1,400 woodcutter, all for himself. He spent thousands of dollars on illegal fireworks that he would sell on the 4th of July. Selfish and cheap, as well as mentally and emotionally abusive. Bad father figure. Then there was the one boyfriend that my mom had that she didn't marry, but I still consider him to be a father figure. While she was married to her 4th husband, my mom made a friend at work that had the same first name as her. This friend was married to a man with the same name, but all 3 were spelled differently. This couple had 2 boys that went to school with my sister and I, and the man that my mom started dating after the divorce was their uncle. I believe that he was the brother of the husband of the couple, but I could be wrong on that one. I was 9. He was a truck driver and was gone a lot, but I enjoyed having him around when he was around. He was one of the few men that my mom ever let be around us all at night. He was impotent, so he wasn't sexually motivated to be around her or us, so he was more like family. He was more like my grandfather than anyone else my mom had around us up to that point. He was soft-spoken, kind, and caring, but he loved a bit of fun, too. They dated on and off for a year or 2, but they never made it past that. He was, however, a good father figure. Now, the next 2 father figures were, in fact, teachers. My 5th and 6th grade teachers were great men. By the time I was in 4th grade, I was at my 3rd elementary school. I had problems with my 4th grade teacher that forced me to get mandatory in-school counseling until I left that school. So, my 5th and 6th grade teachers had to follow that act. My 5th grade teacher reminded me of the kind of guy you'd see coaching soccer. Lots of energy, lots of drive, dark, silly sense of humor, and the like. He had animals in the classroom, too. 3 rats and 2 turtles. I loved him because he would just drop a rat on my desk if he thought he was losing me to my ADHD. He also gave me encouragement on everything I did, even if it was stupid. I loved him. But my 6th grade teacher was the best teacher I ever had. He was married to my 4th grade teacher, so it could have easily gone wrong. But he was just so great. He was calmer than my 5th grade teacher, and he didn't have a wicked sense of humor, but he took the time to understand his students and their needs. He found out early on that I was a fan of the Beatles, and that I liked older TV shows like the Munsters, and so we bonded over that more than anything else. I would stay late after school sometimes to help break down the room with him, and he would put on the Munsters on the TV that was in the room. He just understood that I needed that connection. I wasn't used to being around grown men that understood kids and actually cared about them. So, good father figures. At the end of my 5th grade year, my mom married her 5th husband. He was a young man in the Air Force that had been friends of friends. He was 14 years younger than my mom and 12 years older than me. He was a ranch boy from Oklahoma and a cowboy. He was much like the boyfriend that I talked about earlier, kind, soft-spoken, caring. He was very, yes ma'am, no sir, always wore a duster, boots, and a cowboy hat, and drove a truck. He also was the second longest marriage my mom had at almost 6 years. He was too young for her, but he didn't care. He wanted her. He tried for quite a while until she finally agreed to date him. Then they married when I was 10. He was around until I was 16, so he was one of the most important father figures for a young girl to have. He was more like an older brother than a father, but he did his best with 2 preteen girls. Unfortunately, though I called him Dad and treated him like a father, my sister did not. She was done with stepfathers and just wanted our father back. So they never had the kind of bond that he and I had. But my sister was almost the carbon copy of my mom when she became a teenager. She was only 11 years younger than him, and he began to realize that he was attracted to her since she looked just like my mom and was closer to his age. Also, he didn't see her as a daughter. Thankfully, things didn't go the way it could have. He told my mom there was a problem, and they divorced amicably. That wasn't his only problem, mind you. He was young and impulsive. He liked to spend money more than make it, and other things I won't talk about here. But he was a good man, and a good father figure to me. Thankfully, this next entry didn't last very long. After things were basically over with her 5th husband, my mom's first husband came back on the scene. Now, he had been a regular entity in our lives. He wasn't a stranger. He used to call my mom every birthday and Christmas to see how she was and such. But after we visited him one summer, he and my mom started up again. The reason I name him as a father figure is because he wanted to be. I had his number and I did call him. We had a relationship. I would ask advice on boys and school stuff, and he was interested in my likes and my life. But he was a sociopath. He didn't seem to understand right and wrong, nor care about others' feelings about things. Plus, he really liked to lie. It didn't last long, and I'm glad it didn't. He would have been a bad fit. Not a good father figure. Then my mom got onto Classmates.com and reconnected to an old friend of her first husband's that she had gone to high school with. They talked, and then he came to visit. He was a bit weird, and I honestly thought he was gay when I first met him, but they started dating just before I turned 17. They got married a year later and have been together since, so 21 years at this point? He is the closest thing to a real father I've ever had, and although he drives me nuts sometimes, I do consider him my dad. He's loud, has ADHD and dyslexia, which he likes to blame all of his problems on, and thinks he knows everything about everything, but he loves my mom, my sister, and myself truly. He is my mom's 6th husband, and she is his 4th wife, so take that as you will. But I don't think I've had a father figure that cared for me as much as he does. He isn't just there to have my mom. He's there as a father to both my sister and I. So, good father figure, mostly. The last person I'm going to talk about is a true example of growing up to be a better father. My father-in-law was still a kid, mentally and emotionally, when my husband was born. I believe he was either 19 or 20 when my in-laws had my husband, and they were not ready to be parents. They were both alcoholics with the possibility of other addictions, and they were not mature enough. But they got married and took the plunge anyway. Unfortunately for my husband and his younger brother, my in-laws were not emotionally available parents. They had everything they needed, like food, clothes, doctor appointments, and a roof over their heads, but their parents were not emotionally there. So my husband raised himself and his brother until their parents sobered up when he was a preteen. The man I know as my father-in-law is not the man that raised my husband. The man I know is a supportive father, a present husband, and an excellent friend. But he had a lot of growing up to do before he became that man. He stopped the party life and went into counseling once it dawned on him that he had to change. A little too late, but he still did it. I trust him with my life, and he's usually the second person I call when I need emotional support, the first being my husband. I've been there for him, and he's been there for me, and he has a special place in my heart. He's my living proof that somebody like my father could turn around and try for the sake of his family if he truly cared enough to. He is now, to me, a good father figure. We all have had adult figures in our lives that shape our choices in future partners. My husband has his flaws, I will never deny that. But he's a combination of the good and the bad men I've had in my life. My husband would never cheat on me. He would never beat me or take from me what I am unwilling to give. He would never deny me anything he could give me, nor does he mistake right and wrong. He is kind, caring, soft-spoken, and dangerous, but never to me. Mine is the only head he bows to, and I am the only person he wants. We fight sometimes, but he is my favorite person. I only hope that we might get to raise a child together someday. I know that that child will be safe, loved, and protected. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Blood doesn't make you a dad, only a father. Love makes you a dad. I've had a lot of father figures, some good, some bad. But I have two dads, my mom's current husband and my father-in-law. Being a dad is not a right, it's a joy. If you don't see it that way, don't have children. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the journey. I'm not sure how often I'll be posting something here, so leave a like, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get updated when I do post. If you have questions or want to know more about something I've said, leave a comment and maybe I'll make a video explanation on the subject. But please be polite and courteous with the comments. My feelings don't get hurt, but the world has enough hate and judgment in it. It doesn't need yours on this video. If you think you know who I am, please don't leave a comment guessing my identity. Just send me an email at the address in the description box. Thanks again, and I'll see you when I see you.